Hello and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. Tonight we've got a bit of Spurs news for you that talk about. We'll talk a little bit about the Champions League, and obviously, as we will talk about Palace and a predicted lineup for Palace on Thursday, with an unusual time for us to play, unless you're in the Europa League, of course. But so we'll talk about that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce a regular friend of the show who also spends most of his time on Project Spurs. So get over there at Project Spurs. Phil King's in Frankfurt. How are you, Phil?
Yeah, good evening, Adrian. Thanks for having me on again, as always. It's a pleasure. I'm all right, I guess, in these weird and wonderful times, being a Tottenham Hotspur fan. We've been there and seen it all, haven't we? But yeah, they still...
I think a lot of the fan base now are sitting uncomfortably, understandably so, you know?
Yeah, like it's been a roller coaster the last couple of years overall. And obviously from highs or lows to highs last season and this season, how it's gone. I don't think anyone's, people are getting tired of the season probably because, like, in some ways we just want to kind of write it off now and probably, reset for next season. But we've got a very nervous, but also probably in some ways exciting finish to the season, right? Because we are still in the Champions League, right? We're 2 legs away from the quarterfinals, It's kind of crazy, But yeah, it's all about the league, isn't it? And we've got such a critical run of games coming up. Every game's like a cup final at the moment, and it's just things like this. When we jump on Diehards and Project Spurs and some of the other channels. Harry Scarfy's channel as well. Some of our channels that we're regularly on. It's almost like a bit of group therapy sometimes, isn't it? And sometimes we need it after another shocking kind of performance at the weekend, right? And we need to get through that week and kind of dissect it, try and look at the positives as well, because there is positives there's positives in adversity as well, isn't there? Somewhere, if you look hard enough and you look at it in enough detail, you can find positives in everything. And I think that's what we just try to have to do at the moment, and just hope that the lads can do it right together with Tudor.
Yeah, it just seems to be same old, this repetitive, repetitive, no growth and progress. And that Europa League Cup win seems a light year away now. We should be carrying a warm glow all through this season, not sitting uncomfortably, as we are now. I mean, all right, fair enough. We can't do nothing about last season's injuries to all our backline, basically, Corley. And this season, it seems to be our creative players that are out as well, So, yeah. I mean, you couldn't make it up what's happened to us. I mean, I've noticed that every season, I mean, there's obviously teams down the bottom that suffer because always 3 teams get relegated. And you always notice that, one of the fancy teams, if we ever were a fancy team, seems to go for a worse injury crisis than the other teams that surround them. But this has happened to us for 2 years on the spin, and it needs to stop, doesn't it? But we have got a bit of good news on the injury front, which we will come into. So, you can find Phil here. So get over there. And Deji has just joined us. Deji, do you know Phil at all? You do know?
No, I haven't. Nice to meet you, Phil.
Nice to meet you,
Deji Spurs. Phil, Deji runs a good channel, a lot of good content as well. So that's Deji. So, and you can find Deji here, guys, those of you watching us on various platforms. So get over there, and those of you watching on playback, you can go over to Deji, and you can get over to Phil here on Frankfurt Spurs. So how are you, Deji? Are you okay, or sitting uncomfortably like the rest of us?
Yeah. I mean, am I allowed to get into it, Adrian? Can I dive in?
Well, I'm going to start with.
I'm nervous. I'm personally okay
Okay.
But as a Spurs fan, I've never been so petrified in my whole life. And that is the truth, whole truth.
Well,
And I,
what we're going to start with is just a few bits of news. Then we're going to get into
Yeah.
a bit about the Champions League. Then we'll get into Palace, the lineups, back four, back five, whatever you fancy. But
sure.
on the Spurs and news, right? I mean, do you think we'll start with you, Did? Do you think there's a bit of desperation by the club trying to sort of like backpedal because of their results? I mean, we've written to the PGMO.
No, I think it's right to call it out. I was speaking to a couple of mates today, Spurs fans, and I was saying that I actually think the Premier League is corrupt. And I know people won't like me for saying it, and I might even sound like a spoiled sport, but you can't.
Allegedly. You said that allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Allegedly. And the reason why I'm saying that is we can't have the situation with Mwane and Gabriel where the goal's chalked off for an supposedly foul. And then we had literally the same situation, if not worse, on the weekend against Fulham. And that's given as a goal. I mean, those level of inconsistencies, one, it's beginning to piss me off. But two, what it does create is it creates, we YouTubers, the news media, we talk about it, we up in arms, but nothing gets done. And I think we need to call it out to say, look, we almost need to threaten MOL to the extent that if you keep doing these inconsistencies, people will lose faith in the game and lose faith in their decision making because it's too costly. Like, if we were mid-table, I probably wouldn't mind as much. But then those results, those decisions could be what takes Tottenham down. And that's just far, far too costly to accept. So I back the club for doing that. But I also do feel like it's a sign of desperate times because when have Tottenham ever complained publicly? You know what I mean?
I mean, you mentioned mid-table, but I mean, I'm sure you agree. And Phil, mid-table or not, it should still be called out because what we're crying out for, we're not trying to change the result. We were well beaten the weekend, but what we want is consistency and fairness.
It doesn't make it any easier, with our run of form and, the kind of the mental state of most of our fan base at the moment, right? Because we're not happy, we're stressed, we're sad, we're looking for saviors, we're looking for positives. And when these kind of decisions happen, these VAR decisions or lack of VAR decisions, even whatever refereeing performances happen, it makes it worse. I think just because of the position we're in. But I mean, even just these two decisions in 2 weeks. I mean, as you said there before, like there's zero consistency, and both of those decisions, like linked together, are very strange. Also, when you bear in mind that the referee from last week was literally called on to Sky Sports or whatever it was to explain himself, and he was adamant, that he made the right decision, and which was very strange because he was very quick with his decision and he didn't question it, even though it looked like on the ref cam thing that he wasn't even looking at it. If you look at the replay, he was kind of looking towards the corner flag. So how can he make that decision? And if he can't, either way, VAR should still get involved in that, right? And it was clear. It was a clear simulation for me last week, right? And this time, look, if the one last week hadn't have happened, and maybe the Romero one hadn't have happened, Romero Ekitike, and then this one that happened now against Fulham, and let's say that the Fulham goal was given, I wouldn't have been too happy about it, but I could have understood it, right? Because I don't think it was great defending by Dragusin. Anyways, I think he probably would have still missed the header or the challenge or something possibly. But the fact is, there was two hands on him, and it's just the inconsistency. And you know what? Other fans don't like this either. Every fan will believe that their club is getting, bad calls and potentially discriminated against if you know what I mean. But or bias or whatever else, and probably every fan thinks that. But in all honesty, if you look at these incidents that have happened, and it's not just this season, but specifically this season, there's something not quite right there. And then you've got the Premier League coming out with their social media dude or whoever it is, you know, like trolling Vicario. You know, it all adds up into this thing. And then you've got Sky Sports trolling us constantly, and then they bring out Ange on the overlap. And look, I know that a lot of the stuff he said was, you know, has got substance to it, and people will agree with, and he was right about, you know, a lot of stuff. But still, it's weird that he comes out on the overlap, you know, with the people that basically were also that he had issues with last season, you know. And then they bring out all this Spursy stuff. I don't like it. And this is what they've written now. The fact that we've at least formally done something.
Yeah.
We should have done this before. So this is the very least that they should do. It's the same as you know, the other managers of teams, you know, they call these decisions out after the game, rightly or wrongly, but they lose their rag, and we never do that. We kind of in the past always accepted it, and maybe that's why we've got a bit of a kind of a rough ride around it, or an easy ride, because do you know what I mean? Because like we never seem to complain about these things. So the fact that we've done it now, fair play. Whether it's going to change anything, I don't know, probably not, but I would like to see their response to it. And I would like to see some of their, whether it's Howard Webb or even the other referee, come out and talk about it. The same like Harry Kane was asked to, do you remember that time where Harry Kane was asked after a game onto an interview, and they showed him I think he won a penalty or something, but they were basically accusing him of diving like to win the penalty. Like, I don't know if you remember that on Sky. He's the only player that was ever. But it's just another example of how we seem to generally get a rough
the penalty in the European Cup
ride
against Sissoko. I mean, that was an absolute disgrace, right? There's been others. I mean, the Pedro Porro goal at Man United, which was 4 foot over the line, 4 foot over the line and got cleared. You know, things like that.
Mendes.
But going back to that recent decision, Deji, I mean, I'd understand it. If a player's going up and he's put one hand on our player and he's looking at the ball, so she's like, I could get that, right? But he wasn't even looking at the ball. So to me, it's the foul, right? Whichever way. But, you know, I mean, it'll probably sound sour grapes to our rivals and people like Spurs, but I just want consistency. You know, you won't want the result changed or nothing like that. We're not going down that road. We're not like that. But to me, it was a blatant foul. He wasn't even looking at the ball. And to add to that, they've got to get a grips of all this crap that's going in a penalty area, because fans don't like it. Not just our team, any other team. All this pushing and shoving in a penalty area, no one's looking at the ball. One referee needs to grow some cojones and give a penalty or something, but it's between plays, so they say, oh, it can't happen, or start giving out loads of yellow cards, right? Because that can affect players' performance if they're on a yellow card, especially if it's in the first 5 or 10 minutes of a game. You know, so something needs to be done.
No, I agree. And then just to say, look, when you're down in the bottom half like we are, the truth is most teams who are in the bottom half don't have the rub of the green. So if you're top of the table or in and around the top, you're always getting decisions your way. When you're at the bottom, that's just what comes with the territory. I guess the thing that I struggle with is VAR. I would even have accepted the referee's decision if we didn't have VAR, because you know it's an opinion. You know, when you play grassroots football, what one ref would allow, another ref wouldn't allow, and that's life and that's football. Different referees have different tolerance levels, but VAR is supposed to equalize all of that. It's supposed to be the measure in case the referee's got it wrong. Here's another option. Here's another opinion. And so far, all I've seen is that the decision from PGMOL always seems to go against Spurs, and it's disgusting. And like I said, with so much at stake, it's even worse. And I think definitely right that the board called it out.
I don't trust the officials. I think they're biased, some of them. I mean, I can understand people not being perfectly unbiased, perfectly objective, but I think they're biased. I think probably the person with the most forceful personality amongst those VAR decisions is forcing his opinion on the others and like going his way. And there's no way of knowing what's in their minds anyway. But I just don't trust the decisions. The more automatic the decisions there are, I mean, I like it. I mean, like, I like the goal line technology one. I think that's good. I mean, I think offside should be changed, so there's got to be clear daylight between the two players. Get more goals, and it should be automatic. You shouldn't have players waiting around 5, 6, 7 minutes for decisions when their muscles are cooling down that could contribute to injuries like that. I mean, and it just shouldn't take that long. And there should be a time limit on these decisions, in my opinion. If a referee's got to make a split decision, whether he gets it rightly or wrong, that's fair enough, right? He's making it in fast time. I mean, a lot of times there's penalties. I've sat watching games, I'm sure you have, and I've turned around to guys when I've been like, call it now, don't wait, call it now, is it or isn't it? And you get it right and you get it wrong yourself. So like, you can't blame the referee for that.
They spend like 4 minutes sometimes looking at an offside. Yeah. But an offside, right? So it's obviously very, very close, right? And then even then, some of the lines aren't correct. But if they spend 4 minutes looking at something like that, which should be still quite easy to make a call on it, right? Or even if you just go and say, well, the attacker gets the benefit of the doubt, like they always used to do, right? But then why can't they spend 30 seconds to look at those shoves? You know, or lack of shoves, just quickly. And you know what? Even if the referee gets called to the screen to have a look at, I know nowadays it's like that whenever the referee goes to the screen, it's gonna go. They're gonna change the decision, right? Probably, right? Or do you know what? Like it means that it's gonna be reversed or something like this, right? But in Germany, as an example, in the Bundesliga, right? VAR is it's not perfect. I don't think VAR ever can be perfect, but it seems to work a lot better. And the referees go to the screen a lot more often. If there's any doubt or if they're like, not sure about this one, actually, I know you refereed it in lifetime, but why don't you go and have a look yourself at the screen again? Because you are the referee. You know what I mean? And they go to the screen and then there's a lot more accurate decisions, I would say. But in the Premier League, they never do it. And you don't want to stop the game too long. But like,
I think
the referee,
you'd have some fun if you had like on the screens in the Spurs when they had 30 seconds, like you said, right? A 30 seconds countdown. You've got to decide this decision in 30 seconds. You know, it'd be like when it got down to 10, the crowd would count the 10 down. That would be fun, right? Anyway, like 10, 9, 8. I mean, that would be fun. If you can't decide, you're now taking an opportunity to deliberately look for a problem which the referee couldn't see.
Yeah,
right. So to me, you should have a countdown 10. If you don't do it in 10, on-field decision stands, whether it's right or wrong. Because if especially with a goal, you don't want to be waiting a minute or 2 minutes to decide so you can celebrate a goal. We're supposed to be an entertainment industry. Football's robotic enough without having us to wait for a goal. You know. Okay, we've had a little rant about that. Now, as you sort of alluded to, Phil, and Deji, I'll come to you. When you're down there, everything's going against you. Then you get all these other little niggly stories come up like this one. Arsenal supporting scouted Spurs, saying the Spurs badge is a joke. I mean, like this guy's just got to be sacked. I don't care if we got to give him compensation. Just get rid of him.
I think it was his first. Is it his first week or something? Or his first day, even I assume, and so he'll be in his probation period. But yeah, like he just needs to get thrown out. You know, just end it now. You can't look. We know that there is, you know, within our staff, you know, there's going to be other fans, isn't there? And we know we've had we've had players that support Arsenal. Vice versa, we've probably got other staff now who've probably got a soft spot, you know, for another team in London. It's not ideal, but that's how it is, isn't it? But you can't go online, you know, on Instagram where you've got a following and be so clearly anti, right, your new employer from a company perspective and an employer perspective, but also just bearing in mind the history, right, and the rivalry and everything, right? You cannot do that. Whether he thought it was funny at the time, I assume he did, is no argument, right? You cannot do that, and he deserves to basically lose his job for that. You know, and I know, like,
just for employing Spurs people.
The It's
I
different.
mean, I hear what Phil's saying. I'm in a slightly different space actually. Maybe because I've run into this fella personally myself. So my son plays football at a high level, and there is a strong possibility. Well, who knows? There's a possibility he could end up maybe, playing for Arsenal. Now I've got a video of me online at Halen saying that this is one of the dustiest places I've ever seen in my life. And I'm true, I'm a loyal Spurs fan. But does that mean now, because I've said that my son doesn't get an opportunity at the Arsenal Academy? Not that I really want him there, do you know what I mean? But if that's what's going to develop him. So I hear your point. You are right. Like, he's stupid. Like, that is a really foolish thing to do online, to be publicly taking the piss out of your employer. But there's so many people at Spurs who are Arsenal fans. Even in the academy, you see boys, girls turning up in their Arsenal kits. I've actually said to my son, when we next go to Halen, you must wear your Spurs kit, and he's fully up for it. So, you know what I mean? So, I think it's a bit of banter, but when I saw it this morning in the WhatsApp group, I did think, what a foolish.
Kane was at Arsenal, Bentley was at Arsenal, David Bentley was at Arsenal, Will Lancashire was at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Those things are always going to happen. You can't not hire people, right, just because they support your biggest rivals. I know in a dream world we wouldn't have a single person working at Spurs, right, or playing for Spurs who does that, but realistically you can't. And also, by the way, like, nowadays, theoretically, I know it wouldn't be as clear as that, but theoretically that's kind of discrimination, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you can do the job, if you're a really good coach and if you got a track record, then realistically those things are going to happen. But nowadays, because social media is so big and it blows off, and you can't do that. You can't go on there and say things like, I can't put that badge against my skin or whatever it was he was saying. Do you know what I mean? Like that. That's another. He could have posted something, right? And he could have still made a joke about it. He could have said, "Look, I can't believe it. Like, I'm at Spurs now. As you know, I'm a big gooner." But do you know what I mean? Like, he could have said that. He could have still made a joke out of it, but he did it in the wrong way. And look, I don't know whether he loses his job or not. I don't know. We don't want anyone really to lose their jobs, but he's just silly. He's just silly for doing it.
He probably does end up losing. He probably does end up losing his job. Because, like you said, I think he might have. It is slightly overblown, but I feel like I have bumped into this fella before, and he is a good coach. Do you know what I mean? He's actually good at his job. And on one aspect, maybe because I've met him personally, part of me, you want someone like him developing the young up and coming talent. But what he needs to do is he has to have a little bit of common sense, and he needs to have some decorum. The level, I think some people underplay the rivalry between our clubs, and this is the point. The one thing and there's a part of me that respects him slightly, and let me tell you why. I've had over the last 3 weeks, Phil, 3 or 4 weeks, Tottenham fans literally ripped me to shreds because I wanted us to lose against City if it meant that Arsenal wouldn't win the league. And then I look around and I turn to our Tottenham fans and say, when did Arsenal become our mates? Like, these are our North London rivals. I've got Tottenham fans saying they don't give a damn about what Arsenal do. Oh, well, that's good for you. As a Spurs fan, we got our job to do, but I still want to see the Red Tottenham suffer. I want to see them die, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? And so that, I feel like Spurs fans, we don't do enough of that. I don't see many Spurs fans who give Arsenal grief. Sorry, my webcam is a bit weird, man. Bloody hell, it's just.
I agree.
But you know what I mean?
Some fans are different like that. But I mean, I agree with you on that. I mean, for me, there's nothing worse, right, than that lot. Let's say, do you know what I mean? And like, I honestly want them to lose every single game. And I don't have any red items of clothing. Literally, I don't have a single piece of red t-shirt, shirt, jumper, coat. Literally, I can't. Do you know what I mean? I can't do it. And it's always been the same. So I get it. Some fans aren't like that or aren't as bad as that, right? You know, I just remember growing up during the Arsene Wenger years, and do you know what I mean? Like from seeing us winning the FA Cup, you know, when I was 10 years old, to then going on that run and seeing that lot kind of, you know, dominate for so long and build a new stadium and stuff. You know, I got a bit traumatized, I think, you know, during that time. So look, it's different for everyone else, but the fact is that some people don't do that. And, you know, the worst thing is that for us, because we've always, or over the years, we've been less successful, let's say, overall, haven't we? Like, if we're being honest, over the last 20, 30 years, 40 years, let's say since the 80s, when we actually won quite a lot of trophies, we've just got this banter situation happening, haven't we? Where it's very easy to banter Spurs, and that's why now in the press, you know, and it's everyone, it's BBC, it's Match of the Day, you know, it's Talk Sport, you know, everyone is bantering us, you know, and it annoys me. It makes me angry.
Yeah. Do you think generational? Do you think it's generational? Because like I'm one of those fans that want us to win every game. You know, so
no, I think it is generational. I think there is something in that. I mean, you know, but I think you said it yourself, Adrian, you know, like in a pod recently, you know, like when Thomas Frank was still here, you know, that you support the manager kind of through, like literally through thick and thin, you know, like in the old days, let's say, in the old days, you know, you had your manager, right? And you know, you kind of, you're going on a journey with the manager, you know. Managers don't generally get sacked like as quickly as they do nowadays, right? The media and social media and everything else, the spotlight isn't as intense, maybe, you know, like in terms of like the noise and stuff, but you'd go on more of a like long-term journey, right? And you would turn up for the game every week, you know, at the Lane, you know, you'd pay your money to go on the terraces, you know, right. I think it is generational, but I think the football has changed from that perspective, right? Just from a social perspective, and social media has impacted that massively as well, right? Because now you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of people on X or on other platforms that either hide behind handles or like it's different, right? Before you either probably came from the area, you know, where your team is from, right? You live near there, or you got a family connection.
I'm from
or and you know, both of you are you know, you live or you're from very close to the ground, right? So that's how it always was in the old days. And nowadays, of course, you can be a fan, you know, from much further afield. And probably if you were doing well, like in the old days when you had your glory periods, that's when you'd pick up fans from, you know, other parts of the country.
There was no internet to troll back in the day. There was no internet to troll. So there's less hate. Hate has actually become more fashionable, and even towards your own team and players. I mean, it's not just Spurs at the stadium when we played bad and the fans might boo at half-time, which I disagree with again, right? Or at full-time, if you're going to do it at full-time, but I won't do it. I won't stand up and sing "Hey Arsenal, West Ham, or Chelsea." I won't sing. No, and I won't sing the Sol Campbell song.
Wow. I see. I'm the opposite.
Yeah, I know, that's fine. If you do that, you paid your money. You do what you do. Listen, I don't browbeat people with my opinions on the show or anything. I just express mine, leave it out there. Other people express theirs, they leave it out there. I don't think you get anywhere by trying to browbeat someone apart from pissing them off, right? So like, but there is so much hate out there, and I've noticed. And booing's not restricted to us. Everton the other day, they went at half-time, their fans booed them. And some fans up the country, you wouldn't think, oh, I thought these were hotbeds. They don't boo, they all support their teams, you know. I've seen it. Man United got booed off when they were learning at half-time. Everton were down to 10 men in one game, and Everton won the game 1-0, didn't they? And they got booed. So it's almost fashionable, you know, that when you...
Is the
it's
hate
also fashionable that fan bases have to be bipolar. If you're doing well, you cheer, but when you do bad, you boo. And I don't see how at half time.
You're right. You're right, Adrian. But I feel like the time is also changing. So one of my big criticisms, just briefly, of Thomas Frank, that I've been saying is like, I don't think he's bothered. I don't think he's bothered
He was
about the
awful.
message. Do you know what I mean? He was absolutely awful. He's been sacked or he's been put on garden leave. If Spurs go down, it's no skin off his nose. He's not a Spurs supporter. And what I'm seeing with a lot of the players is that they don't give a damn. Like, there should be a clause in their contract that says if you go down, you got to like it or lump it for a season. Because what happens, and I know, let me not skip it, but it's just to make the point here. Do you think Romero gives a damn if we go down? Do you think Van der Ven gives a damn?
Yeah.
They just leave us. And that's why they're getting booed. Do your job. Do you know what I'm saying? Do your job.
No, I mean, like,
because
you look at, there are
multi-millionaires.
There are younger players.
They're multi-millionaires.
They're multi-millionaires, true, but there are younger players. Okay, there are older players like Romero's been with us. Why? Just signed a new contract, 2029, probably on broken promises, right? Got that team together just before going off in the Europa League, dragged them together. He is a leader. We know he's flawed, but then you've got to look at, but he is a leader. And as much as I want Richarlison out of this team in the summer, because I've seen so many strikers better than the three we've got, better than Solanke and Moani, right? You want Richarlison when there's a fight, because he did it with Everton, helped kept them up. You want him when there's a fight. So we're now looking at players that do that for you, that will give their all. And you can't knock some of them young kids like Tell, Odebert, and even Xavi. You can see that even if it doesn't work for them, they're trying their hardest. They really are, and they're hungry and they're trying hard. Laughing gas, Basuma, I want him out of the club. I want him out, gone. Like Richarlison, I think if you're going to get rid of three in the summer, we're slightly off topic, but I mean, like, all right, Davies is going to sort of retire. Richarlison, Basuma, that would give you 3 spots you can replace in the squad. But I don't know. It's a question. I just think it's like inexperience. People said, "Oh, VDV's took his foot off the gas." I don't think so. I think he's pissed off with the situation. I don't think he's took his foot off the gas. He made a blinding block to stop that against Fulham, and so like no, I don't think so. I just think you're going to get a lot of unwanted criticism that you can't prove. You can't look into a player's mind and heart. You don't know. You can assume from the outside, not putting it in, not doing it. Whatever. I get that, but I don't. These are professionals at the end of the day, and we have put in some sterling defensive performances throughout the season, even though our season's a joke. Anyway, let's move on from this a bit, right? So I want to come to you, Phil, on this, because I want to know if this was taken up in Germany at all. Spurs given suspended ticketing ban for Spurs fans, Nazi salutes, 3 guilty fans banned indefinitely. I mean, you'd think away fans are usually some of their most loyal going, that you'd have a bit more sense than to do this, right? Was it taken up in a big way in the German sports media or not?
It was today when it was announced. Yeah, it was the first I'd heard of it, to be honest, today. I think at the time there wasn't any press about it, and I didn't really see anything about it in the UK either when it happened right after the game, because it was after the Frankfurt game, wasn't it? Which I was at. It was in the press today. Look, I mean, a couple of things. I mean, obviously, a bunch of complete, idiots is too nice a word, isn't it? Like, I can't really swear, but you know what I mean, right? Like, anyone who does something like this, regardless has got to, like, basically expect to, to see consequences, and especially in Germany, anyways, where doing that is actually a criminal offense, right? If you do that in Germany, as per the law, that is a criminal offense, and you will get arrested for doing that immediately, right? But someone actually told me today that apparently there was a similar issue when we played here before, actually, and it kind of got smoothed over, apparently. But obviously this time it didn't, and these people have been banned. But look, the German press here was saying that they were considering, I believe, to actually take, legal action, criminal action against them. But I think the fact that they obviously live in a different country and, there's a level to, do you know what I mean? Like I think they decided to drop it, but
yeah, I don't know. Go on, Karen. Oh, I don't know if you're to remember, right, or Deji. I don't know how old you two are, but we played Villa. Mark Bosnick's the Australian goalkeeper. Give a Nazi salute from behind the goal. We had moved on, to sort of like, we weren't in the political correct quagmire in nowadays, where like everyone's frightened to speak in case they say the wrong thing, right? But do you remember that? Do you remember the Mark Bosnich incident? Yeah. I mean, he had to apologise to Alan Sugar, who's Jewish, right? Which is fair enough, right? I mean, like, and that was let go. If that had happened today with Spurs, with a Spurs player, you can imagine what would have happened. Like,
The one thing I would say is that I think other teams have. It's disappointing though when our own fans, end up getting banned for things like this, right? Because I don't know, but I always think that we're better than that, compared to maybe some other teams out there. Whenever West Ham have come over to Germany a few times, Chelsea have come over to Germany a few times, they've had like a million times more incidents, let's say, than our fans. Generally speaking, when we were here, I didn't see a single issue. There wasn't a single fight, there wasn't a single any bad chanting or anything, let's say. Even like chants that happen when England play Germany and stuff, like some of those chants which are quite easily chanted in the UK. There's none of that here and stuff. So we've always behaved really well, but it just shows that there's always some idiots right in your ranks that act in a way that they shouldn't do. But as always, sometimes these people think that in the moment they're it's for whatever reason it's not that bad, but it's no excuse. Realistically nowadays you can't do that, right? And they're probably gonna lose their season tickets, right? And well, they've been banned, right? So I guess they can't even come into the lane right anymore. So I don't know if that's permanent or not.
Unless there's somewhere they can sneak into grounds, but cameras in Spurs, they can pick up your phone. So if they do get you, they can get you anyway, like, Yeah, so one more piece of news before we talk about Champions League a bit. I mean, Deji, Spurs step up the quest for a sporting director. Makes you wonder when we were having two with Paratici and Langer. It looks like Langer's staying in a role of sorts. It's never been quite clear, like, who's actually doing what. Langer, Vinay Venkatesham, or even Paratici didn't do much when he came back, apart from cut and run at the first chance. So I was very disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, the more you start to see the stuff behind the scenes, the more you realize that we've been in a mess for a while. I mean, Langer, who thought it was a good idea for him to bring in? Villa fans were so delighted to see. What I don't understand is who makes the decisions. For me, I live in the real world. I work for a living. Before you employ someone, you have a look at their CV. But the biggest invention of man was getting a reference. What are we? We're not looking at CVs. We're not doing references here. Just looking at his track record at Villa, it was absolutely naff. And the geezer that we want to bring in is the Chelsea one. And I think Chelsea's kind of recruitment recently has been a bit naff. So, yeah, I think Tottenham, I don't know. To be honest with you, I'll be brutally honest. I had this conversation the other day. And I was listening to Ange on Overlap. I like the good old days. I like the good old days when the manager was responsible for the player. These sporting directors are overpaid managerial positions who more often than not don't have a clue about football. I'm kind of sick. I'm kind of sick of it. Unless you get a really good one, there is no point to them personally. So what's stepping up a sporting director to do what? Really, what to bring in?
You're sort of alluding to, which I think would be a good idea, is actually employing a retired manager as a sporting director. You know, which might work well. you know, and as you alluded to with Chelsea as well, I mean, like, if you can spend £1 billion as a sporting director and you don't look good, you definitely don't win our club, do you? And they've had a lot of misses at Chelsea. They've had a lot of misses, haven't they? Spent a lot of money.
So what are you looking at then? Why are you looking at that person? For me, the sort of person that I would be looking at is the geezer that Man United had, and now is at Barcelona. Is it Rent? He was in charge of United for a bit.
Rangnick, Ralph.
Yeah, like he seems to have a bit of a good footballing brain. Someone of that ilk. I actually think Paratici. One of the great things about Paratici is he had an eye for talent. You know, unknowns. Kulusevski, unknown. You know, Romero. You know what I mean? Like Bentancur. Like a lot of these lads came in under him. And what it sounds like is that even when he was giving advice, he never wanted Frank in the club. The club just don't bloody listen. So I don't get it. I really don't understand. But I don't like sporting directors, just like I don't like the fact that managers don't manage, like managers don't coach. And that's an issue. I was listening to Liam Rossini, who was saying that the last week he was personally responsible for the set pieces drills at Chelsea. But you look at Thomas Frank, you look at Ange, they just stand there. I don't think they even are aware of what the coaches are doing. And then they just stand there on the sideline wondering why things aren't happening. Well, were you involved in the training is the question. Do you even know what's going on? So, yeah, that's my there.
Why can't we sort of like, you know, ease the fans' frustrations? Why can't we bring in, Phil, someone like someone like a Glenn Hoddle as like, and someone who goes out and sort of scouts, looks at these players. I mean, he ran that academy in Spain for players that sort of failed, and some of them got a second chance. You know, you missed, you're overlooked. You know, we've done it when players have come back to haunt us in later years. But all clubs have done that, right? Let good players slip through their fingers who finally somehow get another chance and make it good. So why can't we have someone like a Hoddle doing that job? I mean, like, you know, like going around sort of managers haven't got time to scout, Deji. This is the thing now. You've got a game every 3 days. You've got to try and fit training and coaching and organise one. There just isn't the time. You know, that's the way the modern game is. Back in the day, managers would go and watch a player, but you only played one game a week, you know. So
I get it, but just quickly before Phil comes in, the issue I'm having with the sporting director is if you look at like Brighton have a philosophy of a style of player that they want. Hence why a manager can come in and pretty much hit the ground running. They've already identified these unknown quality players. If you look at our squad, part of the reason why we've been crap the last 2 seasons is because our squad is a mismatch. We have the most unbalanced squad in the league. Like I don't know what our best midfield looks like. And neither does the manager, because our midfield is so unbalanced that there is no permutation of the midfield that's going to work.
And with the injuries, Deji, we haven't. A manager's not had the luxury of being able to have a blend of 3 players that he can change the blend. So as he knows, right, I've got 2 or 3 blends out of our 6 midfielders or 8 that we got now, right? And now I know I've got 3 different types of blends I can use that actually work. Yeah. But because there's no pattern, there's no link, we slag off our forward line. But when you've got no service to them, you can't select, all right, he did nothing during the game. Well, was he given the ball? You know what I mean? At any time during the game? I mean, Solanke, that's the most inept performance I've seen Solanke against Fulham. He never got near it. They never tried to find out any way to work away to get the ball to him. And he was just non-existent. It was non-existent.
At the end of the day, I believe that our midfield is the most ineffective midfield in the league, and I think, and arguably, it has been for a while. It's not just this season. I think it's been ineffective for a while, but we've managed to kind of have some, you know, plug some gaps in there, plug some holes in there. You know, like obviously when Madders was fit, you know, Kulusevski could play in midfield. You know, when we had
People realise how much we miss them now.
Yeah,
those
exactly.
Besides them players, realise how much we miss them now because they are
they give you control, but they cover the space, you know. And now, like we've got the worst worst midfield in the league. And I actually think that's still, I was saying it on day one of the Thomas Frank, era when he came in, or after the first game. I said, look, our midfield is screwed. Like, this is the big problem here. And it's not just about the Bentancur Palina question, right? That double pivot thing. Generally speaking, whoever you pick in that midfield, and no one knows who to pick, as you said, no one knows the best option here, but it's just screwed. Like, it is ineffective. And that's actually, I think, more problem than our strikers, more problem than our defenders, more problem than Vicario even, like doing the thing. It all comes down to midfield. And that's why, on top of that, though, I just could not believe that we didn't go out and plug that sooner. So deal with it in the summer last season. I know we tried to get Morgan Gibbs-White. We tried to get Eze
as well. Just
you know what I mean?
just as on that point through last season, from the beginning of last season, we know we needed a left back and we did nothing until we got Sousa in January. So that's last summer we should have got a left back in. Yeah, go on.
All of those things, but that also then comes back again to the sporting director question, and
exactly, which is why
who did we identify? Like, it's one thing identifying players, right? It's one thing identifying players. It's one thing putting them onto a short list, and then it's another thing though, trying to build a squad and build a squad with like a 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, 3 years thing, which, to be honest, our friends that play in red from Southeast London, that's what they've managed to do over the last 3-4 years, right? And they've done it incredibly well, but they've gone out there and all parts of the cog have been functioning, right? And it comes back to what we have or haven't done. And there's just been a massive gap there, with regards to the sporting director. So probably, and again, we don't know all of the facts, right? But what we do know is that we have not managed to get the players that we wanted to get in. And the players on a secondary shortlist that at least would like plug holes or work into a kind of perceived system that we would have wanted to have. So when Ange was here and he was playing his Ange ball, there would have been other players as well, right? Where they would have said at least, well, he can come in, and probably play within that Ange ball system. That's probably why, in some shape or form, they got Timo Werner in, despite the fact that he was obviously free and on loan, right? But I still think that they got him in because he fitted kind of into the way that we wanted to play. It just didn't help that he wasn't very good, but we would have known that, right, before actually going to sign him. But the problem is that, if you said before there as well, like in that role as having a sporting director, right, you're going to have all your, how many scouts have we got in Europe or in the world? Like, we've got all of these allocated scouts, right, who are responsible for one region or postcode or whatever country, and then we've got another little mini layer, and then we've got Johan Lange, who's kind
Rob
of like
McKenzie's got a team of 10.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Rob McKenzie.
Herrera in Portugal, I recall. You've got Max Leck in Germany. Max Leck.
Yeah.
You've got another guy, and then there are the ones in the UK that are analysts and scouts. I think there's 3 scouts and 3 analysts or whatever. There are a lot of scouts. So basically, you go to one of these agencies who collect all the information for you, get all the data analysis, especially if it's a player in South America you've not heard of that gets thrown at you with a load of lists. Then you have a look at him, you go and look at his videos, and then you go and scout him. And then if you do proper due diligence, so you don't get another Ndombele with a bad, a bad attitude, you go and see if the guy's a team player. What's his attitude like? What's his mentality like? Is he a winner? Is he a sulker? Blah. And you should be doing all that. The psychological profile should go with it as well. That's why I like aggressive players. The reason I like aggressive players, even if Romero gets a yellow card, the reason I like aggressive players is because aggressive players are winners. They're the ones in the past we used to see 2 players wrestling with the ball, not knowing until the referee or the linesman gives the throw in, right? They're the players. You can get a quiet person that's very aggressive. Quiet goes about his duty, but you see more in an aggressive player, and that's what you want. Our players look a bit passive at the moment, and you want to see that aggression. This is why I love Romero, but I mean, he's not everyone's cup of tea. That's fair enough, but it's just my opinion.
Can I just say about what you said though about like someone like Glenn Hoddle, right, or like the next sporting director? I think the club needs to first of all also work out whether there's going to be a change on Vinay, right, and whether he's going to survive this season. Okay, maybe it's dependent on whether we stay in the league or not. I don't know, but like the club need to make a decision on whether he stays or goes, right, as CEO, like number one. Like in my opinion, as you said, like getting someone like Glenn Hoddle,
not as a sporting director, more as a consultant, because you don't want him deals because
no,
exactly. Is forte.
Exactly. I think we need a couple more. So yeah, we would ideally need someone like Glenn Hoddle or another legend of the club, right? Who is, let's say, been in the game long enough, ideally been a manager, understands how like processes work, right, in football, and has the ability to kind of consult with the dressing room or be someone there as a positive influence, but also to advise. The thing is though, like this sporting director decision, who we get in next, is for me more important than the manager next season, because like this sporting director who we get in, or it could be a footballing CEO, it could be MD of football, whatever the role is, it needs to be someone who ideally, in my opinion, has got a track record within the game. I see this a bit different from some people. I think I don't see this person. I don't see this person as just like a glorified, head of talent or head of scouting. I think that the sporting director needs to be able to still to have that in his locker, or, so basically have that whole kind of talent piece, right? So whether they've got Rob McKenzie in there, maybe there's someone else. They've got the ability as well to understand, because they've been an ex-player, ideally, in my opinion, that they can obviously spot talent as well. But for me, that sporting director has to be the person who is either rebuilding or restructuring the football side of our operation, right? And that's not Vinay for me, by the way. That Vinay's the CEO, right? Like Vinay is not a football man, despite working at the other lot for X amount of years, right? We need someone in there. So I'll say it again, but someone like Ralph Rangnick, who obviously is now the Austria national manager. He obviously went to United. All of the things, by the way, that he predicted and he recommended at United have come true, right? They're counting the cost of that. But he's a football man who's been a manager. He's been an administrator. He's been a scout. Do you know, he ticks all the boxes. But you could have someone like Oliver Kahn, the ex-Germany goalkeeper, who was like the sporting director, footballing CEO at Bayern for a couple of years and did a good job. You've got Edwin van der Sar, who was the footballing CEO at Ajax. I know they're not doing very well at the moment, but there was a period where he kind of rebuilt the club and they were doing really well. I think we need to try and get someone like that who can then, together with the scouting and the talent, right, build that fresh, but then work very closely with the manager. For me, it's not so even Paratici, by the way, I personally, I don't think that Paratici was the ideal profile to be that sporting leader, if I can say it like that. What he had was a very good black book, he had his little diary, where he had all his contacts in there in Italy, right, where he knew, he was always on the phone, wasn't he? He was always spotted on the headphones. He had the contacts and he used that to good effect. He also made mistakes. Do you know what I mean, though? I think that they need to work out how do they want to rebuild this structure.
To me, I'll come to you. To me, it doesn't have to be a name from a big club like Barcelona, Real Madrid, PSG, Bayern Munich, where they've got the resources, because then you're looking at the depth of that sporting director there, like, you know, because he's got a lot of assistants at that club. But then again, if you look at, say, mid-table lower teams in the Premier League, you could look to see, right, which teams have punched above their weight, and was it because of the players the sporting directors brought in? I mean,
Well,
Everyone would like Paul Mitchell back at Spurs. I don't know where he is now, actually.
You could argue, though, Adrian, just quickly, that teams like Brentford and Brighton, you know, obviously got to that point because they did have sporting directors or talent leaders in those positions, and then they got to that point where their process was so smooth, and they knew, as you know, as was mentioned already, they know exactly what kind of player they hire, right, and they need, and regardless of who the manager is, almost that will kind of fit into it. And that's probably why Thomas Frank was successful at Brentford, because he had the structure around him, you know. And now you've seen, haven't you? He's gone. They've got Keith Andrews in there. It's seamless. In fact, they're better than they were before. And I know Keith Andrews is going to have to prove himself, isn't he, next season, second season. But at the moment, it's working perfectly. Brighton have done it as well. The question is, can we build something like that at Spurs? And if we do, well, we probably need some patience to do it. But again, how much what's the ownership doing? Like, how much money what do we want to invest in next year, in the next couple of years?
Well, this is also where the cynic in me comes out. I mean, I only ever attended 2 protests, but I mean, like, I was always even back in the day. I'm thinking, like, no, this is ENIC, right? Not investing for 518 days in Poch, unless, of course, you know, Levy was constrained by ENIC, or ENIC said to Levy, well, look, we don't mind putting 100 million as long as you put a third in because you own a third of the company. And he might have said, no, we don't know. There's such a lack of transparency around this football club that we don't know. So, I mean, when people are taking pot shots at Levy all the time, or at getting transfers and slow, he was good on the business side, the stadium, the training, blah, blah, blah. But you know, when I'm having pops at him, I'm sitting there waiting, because I'm always looking at the bigger picture and reading between the lines. I think, no, we need new owners. I still think we need new owners. I don't care if they spend in the summer. The fan base don't trust this ownership. And if they spend 100 million in the summer, or 200 million, hang about, you didn't spend the 100 million. You didn't spend the money on Sylvania. You said there was 70 mil for there before you offered the 100 mil. You've come round to January. We've deepened our injury list, which has put us in a dangerous position, because if we go down because you didn't invest in January, right, that's all. I just think, I know a lot of the protest movement have complained that the fan base haven't been toxic enough to support them. But I could see it getting really toxic in the summer. If we got relegated, it'd get really toxic. I think it really would get more than you ever seen.
I almost feel like we need to get relegated in order to fix the problem.
No.
So first and foremost, Phil, I listened to Phil, and Phil, you're absolutely right. And I never considered this. The sporting director is more important than the manager, but the sporting director has to have a black book. If you don't, the problem with Lange, he doesn't have Lange doesn't have a black book, which is why he can't bring in any players. If I was sporting director, I should be able to bring in, you know, for example, you know, like a Baleba from Brighton. But also, you have to have knowledge of how to build. Like, I use my kids. Kids football is no different to the adult game. It's the same thing. If I bring in quality players, quality 11-year-olds, you see it on the pitch. But if I do a mismatch, I've seen other parents have think they've got a good squad, but don't know how to put them together. You've got to be able to envisage, okay, if Bergvall comes in, he's going to be in the 8. Because I would say something controversial. I don't think Maddison and Kulusevski coming back has that much of an impact in our team. Because the infrastructure around them is still rubbish. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, where does Cooley play? Where does Maddison? Do you know? Sometimes it's about balance, and what we don't have is balance. So you do need that footballing kind of mind. But part of me, that's why I'm like, we've been cheap. We haven't spent the money for whatever reason. We've actually wasted money on players. That's the only place where we are willing to spend. And dare I say, allegedly, I think it's for corrupt reasons, because you can hide your money in a transfer fee for a backhander, but you can't hide your money in the wage. You can't hide your money else. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
but
we
on your bit about, on your bit
cheap
about the players though, Deji, I mean, we did better with them than without them. So that is a fact. I mean, you can't get away. We did better with them than without them. Even the likes of Decky away when VDV scored at Fulham when Basuma got sent off. I mean, he's carried us. He's held us. He's held up games for us, Decky has.
But Adrian, so let's have that. But let's have a think. Let's think logically now. Let's say Kulusevski and Madders, and we had no injuries. Let's say there's no injuries tomorrow.
And Kudus.
Where would they play? Because Kudus is on the right.
Well, I actually think that if everyone's fit, Decky now competes with Kudus on the right, because now you've got Xavi and Maddison. You've got them as your 10s, your creative influence. Decky can put there. So what you do is your squad is actually strengthened. One thing with Decky is, although he's got his critics, I'm a big fan of Kulusevski, is when I said about bringing wingers in, and I think Kudus is an upgrade. But Decky gets you your 12 goals a season, and Kudus is yet to do that. But Kudus has a positive effect on the team, right? He does, because he holds the ball up well. But the point was, when he was in the team, everyone wanted to give him the ball all the time. Like used to give it a Decky, right? Because they weren't confident, because Slanky wasn't fit to hold the ball up. But when he's fit, you've now got them. You've got options, which at the moment Tudor is to do. He's a bit stymied, but he'll have a couple more back in mid-March. I mean, because he'll have Bergvall back, and he'll have who have I got here? He'll have Bergvall back, and he'll
But we can't afford to have both Decky and Kudus not on the pitch. That's why I asked the question. I hear what you're saying, and it makes logical sense. But
but
could you imagine?
The other thing is, although he didn't like that, Kudus can play on the 10. He can also play on the left. Yeah. He played on the left at West Ham as well. He's played on the left. And Decky should be able to play on the left. Good footballer. He should be, be able to play well in positions, not be a jack of all trades and master of none, or only one position. So they can do that, right? And then you talk about, then we don't know what manager we're getting, what system they're going to play, in the summer or whatever. So, I think they'd come back and prove it. We wouldn't be where we are now if those two had been fit. Or Kudus had been fit, that's for sure. I think
Kulusevski could theoretically play a bit deeper as well, I reckon. He could play, I don't want to say he's going to play as a defensive midfielder, but he could theoretically drop a bit deeper in the midfield, if the setup was right. But then he needs the right players in that central midfield again still, doesn't he? And this is why we're still we're an Adam Wharton kind of player short, though, aren't we? In terms of re-energizing the effectiveness of our team. That's what we're missing anyways, though, is we don't have that thing that's clicking in there. Obviously, the managers haven't been good. They've made errors. Haven't been able to get, a tune out of the players that we've had despite the injuries. But sometimes you can buy a player, in a key position, especially in midfield, and put them in there, and they kind of half transform the team, a bit like Dembele did, for Poch, really, right? Without Dembele, when he didn't play, we had no way of breaking through the midfield. You know what I mean? But that's a moot point, though, isn't it? Because again, it depends on the ownership a bit, and it depends on.
Well, Decky, a lot of times he picked up the ball right side and right midfield as a right midfielder, but he's got the physicality. If you wanted to play a back five, he could play as wing back as well, because he's just got.
Yeah, he could
do that. But that's not where I want to see him play, right? Yes. So we've gone a bit off track, but it's good because I've enjoyed the conversation, right? So what we do, I think we'll. Where am I now?
Just quickly as well, Adrian, just a very last little bit on that sporting director thing. We did get a link, didn't we, yesterday, I think, to a couple. Was it the Chelsea guy? Was it Winstanley?
Yeah, we were linked with him, and we were linked with. We're going to be linked with quite a few. Obviously, they want to bring someone in. If Poch comes back, he'd probably want Paul Mitchell back. I don't know where Paul Mitchell is. If you know in the chat, let us know. You know, we've got about 100 of you viewing us now on various platforms, which is excellent. So get over to these guys' groups. I'm going to put them up again. So we're nowhere near closing the show. Don't worry. Get over to Deji Spurs and subscribe to his channel. Good cunt over there. And if you're watching on playback, get over there as well. And the same, get over to Phil on Frankfurt Spurs as well. Watching on playback, get over to there as well. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know where Mitchell is now. Maybe
I think he's. I don't think he's at a club. I remember. I think I might be. Apologies if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember Cal saying that he may have been, kind of sick or like, kind of recovering from sickness or something like this. He's not working. I don't think he's not. He's not employed at a club at the moment, so I think he's available. But he's not been in the media or anywhere. I don't think. If you Google him, there's not that much comes up recently, so I don't know.
Right, we'll skip. I was going to go a bit about European football, but the conversation's been that good. I'm going to skip that. We're going to go straight to this Crystal Palace at home. Right, I like to bring you facts. You know, we like to bring you facts. So this is our previous meetings, 68 meetings. Spurs have had 38 wins, 15 wins, 15 draws. Now, I looked at the last 10 and the last 20 meetings between the two clubs, and they're good. I mean, Palace have nicked a couple of us, but we've done them 4-1, 3-0, 3-1, places like this, you know. This is home and away. We won there this season. Perhaps we're going to get a 6-pointer and win on Thursday against them. We won with the Archie Gray goal. Remember that? Remember that Archie Gray goal? Yeah. So that's that. So the record's pretty good, but records have stood for nothing this season because our form's been that poor in the league. You know, if we could replicate our European home form, we're unbeaten in about 20-odd games. That'd be brilliant. Right. These are our injury woes. Kudus, Bergvall, Bentancur, Kulusevski, Madison, Davies, Udogie over Romero suspended until next week when we've got the European game, because although he's allowed to play for Liverpool, he's not banned in the Champions League. So we'll see Romero then. I mean, you can't tell me these players will. I mean, we're going to argue now over picking a squad, right? And like we've done this for a few weeks, and yet if these guys are fit, we just wouldn't have a clue and at all who to pick, right? Now, this is the news. Today I got this. Kudus and Bergvall to return mid-March, or the latest at the international break was just at the end of March. So, you know, that's not so far away for these two to come back, and they'll be very welcome back because they both have a positive effect. This is the disconcerting thing. I mean, Tudor has had 2 league games to assess the players, right? And he's tried this backfire system. And even at Fulham, we see, Conor Gallagher on the wing, no Sousa at left back, and Gray, who did ever so well when he switched to get that cross that ball with his left peg for Richie to score. I mean, I love Archie Gray, I really do. I know some fans just don't see what I see in him, but I love him, right?
Yeah.
On this, I mean, then you get experienced players in the team. To me, laughing gas must be dropped, right? For those who don't know, laughing gas is that's Basuma. Yeah. Dragusin a liability, guys. I mean, his agent, Florentino, thinks one day he was going to play for Real Madrid.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. It's not going to happen.
Right. So
I don't like him.
No. He's been hit and miss. All right. He's become fitter at the wrong time for it to become, but it's the time to show what you're made of. You know, he's good in the air, he's quick, positional player, suspect. Sometimes he looks like a deer caught in the headlights when we're defending a set piece. You know, I mean, he's just the positional, no one taking responsibility, want to like close a player in the box. It's just a joke. Gray must play in midfield, guys. Are you agreeing with this? I don't want him at fullback anymore. When I see him play for Leeds in them games, he was he played 30-odd games at right back. He played a few as a number 10, and he's just so intelligent. I mean,
he controls the ball.
Yeah. And he gets forward. And when you look around, he's in position to receive it, to receive the ball. And then, like against Bodo Glint, crosses for the goal. Against Fulham at home, when we lost, he was making charging runs down the right. I mean, I just think I think he's so underrated. I think the fans haven't really seen what they should see in Gray. This is baffling. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say on Archie Gray. I mean, I think he's. I know he's learning, right? But he's already played what 80 professional games at 19. I think he's kind of future captain material. You know, he does. I don't want to hype him up too much, but he does remind me of when he plays in midfield and he gets the ball and he strides forward. He does remind me a bit of Declan Rice in terms of how he runs with the ball. And you know, not many players have played more professional games than him at his age in competitive leagues. He's going to be so good for us over the next coming years. But yeah, he just. But again, you're going to talk about Sousa now. I couldn't understand why Gray was paid in a round peg in a square hole. You know, because he would have offered the team so much more playing in midfield, right? Or even on right midfield. If he was going to play Conor Gallagher right wing. You know, at least play Gray there because he's played right back, right? And he likes to come forward. So, I don't know. Weird.
Yeah, Gallagher's been flat. I mean, he's not an elite player, but it's that level below when he's on form. It's just, we've only seen he's still getting into it. And again, if you're coming into a team that's not playing particularly well, it doesn't help either, does it? To me, Sousa must start. I mean, but Spence has a minor calf injury. So what you get with managers when they're nervous, they'll play experienced players, even if they have to put square pegs in round holes. I mean, they're not bold enough, Jeddy, are they? These managers, they're just not bold enough. They're more concerned about saving their arse than they are about...
Adrian, you've heard me say it before, and I'll say it here publicly. I've asked for the Spurs job personally myself, and I've asked for it on a pay-as-you-go basis. I just think the people around the club just don't know football. I think Archie Gray is okay, but I'm not blown away by Archie Gray. Not when you look at you got to look at. For me, I have high levels for our club, and sometimes I wonder whether we all have the same levels. So I look at O'Reilly at Man City. I think he's about the same age. He's an absolute beast. I need 19-year-olds to be beasts. Do you know what I mean? I know he's young, but in Europe, you got Yamin Lamau at 18. Do you know what I mean? Killing it. You know, Ethan Waneri killing it. In my view, you've had other players that you've got some of the some of the Chelsea lads. Is it Lewis Hall? He can't be far off Archie Gray's age. He's playing left back for Newcastle. Do you know what I mean? Like that's elite level footballers in my opinion. I think Archie Gray, bless his cotton socks, he's done a good job and he's come in. But again, I don't like the fact that he's not been able to learn because everyone just plays him like a bit like a donkey. He plays every position on the pitch for Spurs apart from goalkeeper, which I don't know what that is doing for Archie's development. And I think we need to, we as a club, we really need to support the young ones properly. Look, Sousa must start. Common sense must prevail. I don't know why we've got Jed Spence playing left back. Personally, I don't like it. I was even arguing that I just don't. I've never liked it because he can't. We need our left back in the modern game to be able to go forward and whip the ball in. You know, that's what Robinson had. That's what we had with Danny Rose. That's what we had with Carl Walker. Jed Spence cannot whip the ball in from left back because he can't use his left foot. I mean, his best performance. He just cuts in. His best performances at Nottingham Forest was at right back. And guess what? He had a really good relationship with Brennan Johnson. And before we sold Brennan, I know Brennan had a bit of a tough time. I would have liked to have seen under Frank. This is what I'm talking about. What are we paying these guys? I would have done my research on the players. Have these players played at another club before? You would know that Brennan Johnson and at Nottingham Forest with Jed Spence were part of the Nottingham Forest team that beat Arsenal. And those two were ripping Arsenal on that right-hand side. So you try it out. You try it out at Spurs. Put Porro down, give it a 12 for a couple of games, and let's see if we can build that. Because sometimes football's about rhythm and relationships on the pitch. And what I don't see is any of that at all. Dragush, I just don't. Look, I'm bereft. So,
I mean, I agree, Deji, because we see like Conor Gallagher playing wide right. Yeah. Well, Spence could do that going forward. He should be competition for Porro. You want right-footed players in right-footed positions. I've been saying it for ages. Left-footed players in left-footed positions. If you can't play Spence at left back, or you ain't got a left back, you're trying to play Sousa, then play VDV there because he plays there for Holland, right? Let's have some balance in the team.
Yeah.
Not players cutting in, getting each other's way, not sure what they're doing. The roles, they don't know what they're doing.
This is like this is what I was or have been saying all season since Thomas Frank came in, like with Jed Spence on the left, or again playing those players in the wrong positions, right? Like when you're struggling maybe to impose a certain way of tactical style, or you're missing some creative players, right? What do you do to get the most out of the team? You play players in the positions that they know and understand, right? And where it offers you balance in the team. And we have had no balance this season. And again, along with our midfield issues, that's for me has been our biggest issue. We look unbalanced. It was only when Destiny played, earlier in the season on occasion that we looked balanced, actually. Yeah. And even in those games, Xavi, there was a couple of games where Xavi played kind of from the left. But that's okay then, though, because Destiny's coming wide on the left, and he's going to cross quickly. So, and this is what I don't understand. If you're a struggling team as well, obviously we're more than struggling. We're up shit creek without a paddle.
We're relegation fodder.
We are fodder, right? We're the worst. Look at Wolves tonight. Wolves have just beaten Liverpool. And they've played, they've played with heart, passion, energy, and skill, and they're bottom of the league. Like we are the worst team in the league. But again, this is what I don't understand, and I hope that Tudor understands it, or that his coaches understand it, because we need to urgently get some balance in this team. And as to how or why he decided to play Conor Gallagher out on the right, as you've said again as well, I don't understand that at all. I honestly don't understand that.
Why did we bring Igor Tudor in? Common sense. He's got no experience in the Prem. He's never managed a team. You know what I mean? In the Premier League,
keep it
the
simple.
toughest league in the world. I would have brought in Harry Red. We were all talking Harry Redknapp. Harry Redknapp even said he'll do the job. Like, football is not complex. Like, keep it simple. What I loved about Harry Redknapp, and I adopt this when I manage kids football. What position do you play? I ask the kids. I'm a left back. I'm a left mid. I'm a centre mid. Brilliant. Stick you in your position. That's it. Stick him in the best position and let him crack on. If you just stick, that's it.
I'm going to stay with you, Deji. Tell's had 6 starts this season. When he's come, we know he's not the finished article, but the kid's definitely got something about him. He's certainly got the right attitude on the pitch. He wants to get forward, wants to take players on. I just posted the other day, because people were asking my comments on Palace, what would you do? I said, if you look at Tell and you look at Bergvall, I said, Bergvall's been given the job left side of midfield. He did when he was concussed and he come off. That was where Frank was going to play him.
Yeah.
And I think Tell could do that job left side of midfield and carry the ball. Same as Bergvall. In fact, I think he'd carry it better because he's a striker by nature. And I think he could do that. He could do that. I think he could play left side midfield, and you could play Graham Polina with him in there. And then you leave Xavi behind Richarlison and Solanke. But we'll come to that. But Tell, to me, I think he deserves game time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think.
Are you a fan?
You know what? I'm indifferent on Tell.
Fair enough.
I feel like what I love about Tell is he's got a good attitude for a young kid, and he tries hard. But I'll be honest with you, he's not the player that I thought that we were getting from Bayern Munich. Yeah, I thought we were getting, stop short of an Eze and Elise type. And maybe that was wishful thinking for me, but that's what I thought. So I was slightly disappointed and underwhelmed by what I was seeing in Tel. However, he did look bright in the last game. And actually, in a team where we don't have many options, it's a no-brainer. Like, he should be playing, especially when he was playing well. I didn't understand why Frank didn't put him in the Champions League squad, because he was actually doing all right. I think I went to watch Spurs against Sunderland, and he was all right in that game. I think he started the game and he done well. And then it's when he came off that they got the bloody equaliser. And I was like, but why is Tel coming off? Now, I'll give you my opinion. If Richarlison is fit, I think Richarlison should go left mid. It should be a toss between Richarlison and Tel. I know a lot of people
left,
because that is his strength. What I could never understand under Frank was why he would play Richarlison in the 9. It just didn't make no sense. Again, no ball knowledge. So, me personally, because you talked about the fight, I would start Richarlison left. I would have Solanke as our number 9 or Mourani as our 9, and then I would have had Kudus on the right hand side.
I get that, Deji, and to add to that, I've noticed that when we go one or the other as the 9, it doesn't work. You can switch them, because when it didn't work with Solanke in a few of the home games, Richarlison come on and straight into the number 9, and Solanke moved on, either came deeper or whatever. So you can do that. I would like to see Tel, because we've got no options left side in midfield, really. I'd like to see Tel in that position against Palace. I really would, because I think carry it forward. He could do the job that Bergvall's done. Bergvall can play anywhere in midfield, basically, but he seems to be stuck on the left. Right, for the game, this guy's suspended. They're probably their best defender. Brennan Johnson will probably come back and haunt us and score.
Probably will. I'm
going to come to you, Phil. Now, we know that Tudor likes to play 3 at the back or a back 5, but my argument is, after watching this twice, do we have sufficient good players to suit a back 5? Because if you are, you're Dragerson, if you are, really.
I think, in certain positions we have them. I think we do have enough sufficient players, but my concern is, how do you set the defense up? The back 3. We have sufficient players if you're going to play Porro on the right and play Sousa on the left. Both like attacking, both can get forward and maybe not have to worry quite as much about getting back. But even with Mickey, obviously Romero anyways is still out. If Romero is fit, then we do, because we've got Romero, Van der Ven, and probably Big Kevin Danzo in there as well, even Archie Gray or Palhinha still. But again, I would rather see Palhinha play in midfield.
Yes.
If he's adding value in that game, being a central midfielder, otherwise I'd rather see Archie Gray start in there, right? But we would have enough players then to be able to play, obviously Danzo, Romero, and Van der Ven. He's banned, so for this game you'd have to put in probably Dragerson again, to be fair, in that back 3, or Archie Gray. But I want Archie Gray to play midfield. I think you can do a 4 if you're going to play. Probably the squad at the moment, you're going to play a 4-2-3-1, kind of classical system where, as we said before, Richie on the left, maybe. Solanke up front, probably Xavi in the middle. And you could still play Tel on the right if you wanted to, or vice versa. Tel plays there for France. And then you've still got your midfield of Archie Gray, maybe, and Gallagher, or Archie Gray and Sarr, or whoever you want to pick in there. I think we do have sufficient players to play 5 at the back. But again, the question is who do you want to put then when you've got that back 3? Who do you trust and who do you want to have in there? Maybe at the moment a back 4 is better.
and I trust Danso for his positional plays, and he sniffs danger out. And I've seen Danso in games cover for Porro when he goes rampaging forward. Like Danso's very aware. He knows his limitations, and he's been in good form recently, right? I don't trust Dragerson yet. He hasn't done enough, right?
No.
Going to be out, right?
Can I? Yeah.
And I don't want to see Polina in a back three. People say play him in a back three, drop Dragerson. No, play the back four instead if you've got to do that. Put Polina where he's best, sitting in front of the two central defenders, and then pick your midfield around that. And I'd actually, Gallagher would start on the bench for me. Let's move. Only going to go 4-4-2 or something like that, because then I'd play Gray. I'd play Gray on the right, where he's better suited. The other right of Polina, and I'd play Tell left midfield. I really would play him in left midfield because I think he could have a very good effect, charge forward like Bergvall does. But we all know what's going to happen. Spence,
that's the players. Can I just explain something about the back three?
Go on.
And this is where I'm showing my tactical prowess. No doubt Phil will be inviting me to Frankfurt once I drop this spanner. So in terms of the back three, the current back three, I would have it as Van der Ven, Danso in the middle, Dragusin. Yeah. Now, when we have Romero, what
hang about, Deji's gone off camera. I'll get him back as soon as he gets back.
Yeah, he had Thomas Frank had Van der Ven, Romero, and Danso right of the three. Yeah. The mistake he made was Romero and Danso. I would have had Romero on the right, Van der Ven left, and Danso behind him, because Danso didn't have the pace. He doesn't have any pace, but he can position, like you say, Adrian, and he can read the game. Why was he playing Danso on the right? And if you watch the PSG game, that's how we got ripped, because he's got no pace. So you can, with our current squad, if Danso's in the middle, Dragusin's actually quick enough to do the right-hand side. He needs cover because he's got a mistake in him. But he could do that job and do that job well. And that's about balance and understanding your players. And then, just so you know, I made it very clear from day dot. I didn't understand why we were bringing in Gallagher, because Gallagher, for me, was just someone who can run, a long-distance runner. And I said at the time, what is Gallagher bringing that Papsar can't do?
And a good point on Papsar, because he was playing very well under Frank, then got dropped for no particular reason. But when Papsar was in the side, he was chipping in with goals and covering all the pitch. It was when he had Madison or Kula in the team with him. So that helped. It helped him a lot. And I still think he's a good player. Has he got a future at Spurs? I think we'll sell him. I think he'll go. Dragerson will go. But on your three centre-backs, at Atalanta, Deji, Romero was given a license to go forward because he played in the centre of a back three. And that means he could step in midfield. And he's such a good passer of the ball. He's our best passing centre-back. Whether you like him or not, he is. Right? And he gets forward and chips in with goals. He'd have more license to go forward, in fact, in a back three. I just don't want Polina there. I want him in midfield.
Yeah, I guess that would work if the right-sided defender was quick.
Yeah.
But I think in our current setup, Romero has to play on the right, and he can lean in a little bit like a Reece James and send the balls that way. Because we're talking about the balance. The problem we had, if you remember the PSG game in the Super Cup, was that Danso is so bloody slow that he was just getting stretched, and so that's the point I'm trying to make.
He only goes up for throwing,
yeah,
and set plays, which all defenders do anyway. But he does tend to hover on that right hand in the closed space on the penalty area. He tends to hover around the area without even stopping back from like getting over the halfway line, because he knows he's good at what he does. I mean, the last few games he's been very good, but
I've always liked him.
He isn't better in one metric. I'll throw my man in there. He's playing in Germany. He hasn't got one metric that's better than Vaskovic. Not one. Yeah. That kid is the best centre back at his age I've ever seen. You know, and you can go back to more. He's the best I've ever seen.
Why would we send him out on loan? Like that was stupid. We
no, he needed. He was only 18.
No,
He only signed his contract
But
at 18.
Adrian, in all honesty, me and you, we were speaking in the summer. We knew then that we didn't want this boy on loan, and we've not seen him properly.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Like, if we know this,
with youngsters, though, with youngsters, right? That I was the same with Mikey Moore. If two of them were going to stay, those were the two. But I didn't want them to stay and be stuck on the bench, right?
Yeah.
We didn't know we were going to get the injuries we had. I mean, you got Romero, VDV, you got Danso, you got Dragerson, you got Ben Davis, whose days that a fullback are over. That's 5, you know. I mean, and then now you're talking Vuskovic, you know, squeezing his way in front of. If he squeezes away in front of Dragerson and Danso, then players are going to moan, why is he getting a game instead of me? But to me, he's shown it now in Germany. You go and watch his highlight reels. I mean, the kid's just fantastic.
I think
he's just our third best centre back at the moment, in my opinion. And the end of this season, well, I mean, I'll be throwing my arms up in the air if he isn't included in the squad for next season. I really will.
Well, I think he doesn't want to come back. Apparently,
no, it's not his choice. He's got. I mean, what we unusually did with. I was talking to Liam Meth about Xavi Simons when he came. What'd you rate him? I said, good player, talent, got to develop. Good. He's going to be a star for us. And I think we've seen he will be. He's going to be inconsistent because he's young. He's getting used to Premier League. Be good. When we signed Simmons, I said to him, why aren't we signing players with only a 1-year option? Why are we doing that? I mean, it doesn't do you know have a 2-year option. You're either going to sign the player up you think he's good enough for his contract or you're not. So with Xavi, we give him a 5-year contract with a 2-year option on top. The club's got a 2-year option. Don't know if they've done it with Vuskovic, but you can only sign your professional contract when you're 18. You know, like when you're 16, you can sign a 2-year scholarship with a 1-year professional contract, right? That's what. So, but he's 18 then, and we paid 12.5 million for him when he was 16 at Hajduk Split. Before I went to the Polish league, then he went to Westerlo with Divine, right? And now he's gone to Hamburg. Each time he stepped up a grade, so he has shown it. And so to me, now, no messing about. This kid's special. Kid is special.
I think we made the right decision in loaning him out this season, especially to a decent league and to a league where he's going to be doing a lot of defending, actually, which he is at Hamburg, right? They got promoted last season. He would have ended up spending the majority of the time. Okay, he might have got some game time now with the injuries and stuff, but he's played like so many games this season that, you know, I think it will benefit him more in the, you know,
does he want to come back
in the medium term. He wants to look. I think he would come back. He's not desperate to stay there or anything, but he's got this dream of playing together with his brother at Hamburg.
He's on a drugs ban.
Yeah, he got banned for 4 years, like a couple of years back, right?
Damn.
I think it was 4 years. It's a messy story, but also a story with lots of there's a lot of doubt, let's say, about the the accuracy of the drugs testing in this case.
Yeah.
And I think there's some very big grey areas around it, but regardless, he got banned, so he's basically just been training for the last 3 years, and he's been looking after Vuskovic this season. So they live together in Hamburg, but he's due back in September or October, I think, right? And you know, he's still he was a good player in his own right. He's only 23, even now. I think he got banned when he's defender, centre back.
Mate, bring them both.
Do you know what? Brother. Do you know what? Why not? Why not? Why not? But I think he'd like to. But again, I'd like to see him come back because he's definitely ready. I mean, I've seen Vuskovic play live this season in the stadium here in Germany. The guy's a beast. I mean, oh my God, he wins every single header.
I'll tell you what's good about his highlight reels. This is what killed me. Some of these defenders, and I go and watch Brazil Scout, the young highlight, lots of highlight reels because I bombard you guys with them using and the WhatsApp group and all that.
Yeah,
you actually see a highlight reel where a defender's defending instead of looking sexy going forward. You know what I mean? Which most of them are like. You see him, he's good in the air. He reckons he's not quick. Well, I'll tell you what, I still say
quick enough.
He's quick enough, and with his stride at 18, he should, in theory, get quicker.
He will, and to be honest with you, he's still. I think he's still growing. He's still developing physically, right? You know, he's tall now. He's very big, but I think he's still developing, and he's not slow. I mean, I'd say he's on like Romero levels. You know, like, but for me,
yeah, I mean, our three fastest players, or VDV's the fastest. Then you got to pick between you, Doggy, and Spence. Then they're the next two.
I'd rather have such a highly rated defender like him, who is clearly an absolute beast when it comes to defending, timing wise, heading, dominance in the air, you know, organising the back line.
The way he reads the game, his positioning. You know, I mean, it's just. Lothar Matthäus the most capped German player ever, if you ever watched him play. Phenomenal player.
Amazing player.
He turned around and says, Vaskovic plays like he's already played 3 World Cups.
Yeah.
I mean, what a compliment. What a compliment.
He essentially said he was better than him, like at his age, right? And, you know, Matthäus could play everywhere, couldn't he? I remember watching him like when I was growing up, and he could play anywhere on the pitch, right? And he would just be effective. But like Vuskovic, look, put it this way, I'd rather have a Vuskovic with his attributes than have a Mickey van der Ven, who is obviously a good defender, but he's just pace. Like Mickey's just pace. Mickey loses pace. I don't want to get into a Van der Ven discussion now either, but like if Mickey loses his pace, then he doesn't have that much to fall back on. Whereas Vuskovic is a real defender, like Ledley King.
Well, you know,
right? Do you know what I mean? Like Ledley was, right?
He's excellent, but he plays like a 24-year-old, whereas Vaskovic plays like a 34-year-old. There's the difference.
Yeah, but if he stays at Hamburg next season, or if I'll be disappointed. But obviously, as a caveat to that, I would then. It could surely only happen if we make the right decisions in the summer, right? Investments as well, like in the squad. You know, probably we will lose one of Van der Ven or Romero, right? I would imagine in the summer, which is also fine. But only if we replace them effectively. And look, if we brought Vuskovic in and said, look, we're going to integrate you now into the team. Fantastic.
Phil, can I drop a spanner?
Yeah, always.
Both you and Adrian. I think Vuskovic starts for Spurs if we go down.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
They're signed up on long contracts to 2029. They ain't going nowhere. And Levy put a clause in the players' contracts. There is a relegation clause. If you lose, you're both on half wages. There's nothing they can do about it. They can moan about it. It don't affect them. They're millionaires anyway. But just pride thing. There is a clause in there now. It's come out that these players do not get the wages they're on if they're relegated. And why should they?
Yeah.
You know, why should they? They're rich enough anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think Romero, VDV are going anywhere, and I think Vaskovic will come in.
You put something. I think Adrian, you put something in the WhatsApp group the other day, and it was like, if we go down, we got Tell, we got Alderweireld, we got Vuskovic, we got Ashley Phillips, and actually you got Bergvall, you got Archie Gray. You do have the potential making of a formidable team with the youngsters. The problem is they're too young at the moment to carry the club, and we don't have enough good quality older players who can kind of seamlessly bring them up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if we go down to the Championship, all of those players we mentioned will be starting, and maybe that might just speed up their development process.
We don't want to go down. It will cost the club. Kieran Maguire, who lectures on football finance at Liverpool University, is the go-to expert. Said it would cost Spurs about 260 million. Now, I've got that. I didn't go and treble source that, and normally I do to make sure I get that. But we know it's cost Spurs an absolute fortune if they went down. Hence, Levy probably putting that in. Maybe after finishing 17th last season and winning Europa League, maybe that was in there then beforehand, or I don't know. I don't know how you can put it in without going to players individually and saying, look, this is what happens if we go down. Surely you do it when players, if it's either in the contract or not. So I'm not even sure that's a true story, and I'm beginning to question it actually. But yeah, I mean, I didn't put that in the WhatsApp group what you said, because not the list of players you got, because I just don't see Romero, VDV, and I can see all the media being, especially the rivals and the Spurs haters out there in the media, like linking any players that we think are good in our squad away from this football club, but they're under contract. If VDV was to go, you're talking 100 million. If Romero was to go at his age, I think you're still talking 80, 85 mil. If Real Madrid wanted to replace Sergio Ramos, it'd be the perfect replacement. But Simeone's been after Romero for quite a while. But it's a question of whether they're going to have to cough up the money, and then Vaskovic would come straight into this team. So it wouldn't be a disaster. But when we've got good players, especially at the back like we've got, you don't want them to go, do you? Yeah. It's not a question of like, I mean, when people say, and make me laugh, go back and say, oh, we should have sold Dyer when we got 60 mil. We would have got 60 mil for him when Man United won him, when Mourinho won him, and all that time when he was playing well in midfield as a holding midfielder. But the time when your players are playing well, you don't want to sell them, do you? You don't know what time to get rid of them, really.
We get criticised whatever we do, don't we? That's the problem. Because like in the old days, we got criticised for selling Michael Carrick, as an example, to United at the time, right? When maybe we could have said, oh, why couldn't we have just held on to him, right, and not sold him? And we would have got another 2-3 years out of him, or like Dyer, as you say, or God, there's probably a load of other examples.
Berbatov.
Berbatov, we sold in the end. Well, yeah, Berbatov, actually.
He both ways.
I mean, we haven't actually been. I mean, we haven't been a selling club. I mean, that's another myth, because when Ericsson was going, it's the end of his contract, we knew he was going. Yeah. We got 16 mil from him in January, which was a good deal to Milan, right? We knew Kane was going, right? I wanted to keep him. The reason I want to keep the players, because I'm selfish. I'm a season ago. I don't want to see the best players at the club. So for me, it's more selfish reasons. Commercial reason, it was the right thing to do to sell him. But look what he's done. He's scored over 500 goals now, right? So you've got that. But the last player we sold, we didn't want to get rid of, was actually Kyle Walker in 2017. Prior to that, you go back to 2012 and 13 when we sold Bale and Modric. So we haven't been a selling club, but now at least we would get something for these players rather than nothing, right? So back four or back five, guys, against Palace. Deji?
It's a back five. Okay. We know this. He's shown us already. If you're doing the back five when you don't have the players, then you're going to do the back five now that you do. I think the only thing I thought was a bit disingenuous of Tudor is he said, based on the players he had, he would come up with a system. Well, what he did was, I understand the system fully. With the players that he had, he's going to fit them in his system, and that is an absolute I mean, that is the dumbest thing, but it's a back five. The other thing I will say is, so late in the season, you're up against the Palace team that have done back three or back five all season. They are better than us at playing that system. And for that reason and that reason alone, we will lose on Thursday.
I'm going to the game. I'm glad you said that. Right. So back five for you.
I think so, because I think it suits us better where we are right now. I also think that if he kind of mirrors the Glasner system, like what Frank was trying to play before he got fired, with the kind of two number 10s behind the striker, then he can actually play someone like Tel in there. Maybe Tel and Xavi kind of together with Solanke in front, and then still play his couple of midfielders, Gray and Paulinho if he wants, or Gray and whoever. And then he's got the wing backs, right? Ideally with Sousa. If he can play Sousa and Porro as wing backs with Tel, Xavi, Solanke, Gray, Paulinho as an example, for me, that's a pretty good starting 11 there plus Mickey, Danzo, and probably Dragerson, to be honest, at the moment. But like, if
he's going to have a midfield pivot, isn't he? Because then you've got three.
Yeah, he will.
Usually
Yeah,
going to be Xavi, Solanke, and Richie probably. Although he likes Mwani, but but I wouldn't. I'd play Solanke and Richie just because we want the more fight. But
yeah, he might play it like that. But then he will still have, Richie, if he doesn't start him, to come off the bench, and wherever he puts him. My concern is that, like Glasner, as was said, he's an expert at his system, and Glasner is a great manager, anyways. I'm a bit biased though, because I had the pleasure of watching him for 2 seasons here in Frankfurt.
Let's do 2 then. Let's do a 5 and a 4 at the back, right? So a 5, I assume that the centre backs are going to be VDV, Danso, and Dragerson. Porro's the only choice of the right-hand side.
Yeah.
I think he'll go with Spence for the experience on the left, although we'd all want Sousa, right? We'd all want Sousa. We got to attack, we're at home, right? So Porro's...
It's got to be Sousa. It's got to be Sousa, man.
Right. So, Deji, who's your midfield pivot?
Right.
Paulina and who?
Say again, Paulina, did you say?
Yeah, Paulina and who? Because if you're not putting Paulina in the back three, you're playing him in the midfield, aren't you?
Yeah. So for me, I think you need legs. I would go with Apsar. I wouldn't go with Gallagher. The only alternative would be Paulina and Basuma, but it doesn't. Basuma just isn't the Basuma we thought we were getting from Brighton. Basuma once upon a time was probably one of the best 8s in the league, but he really isn't that guy and has never shown to be that guy at Spurs. So I would go with Papsar and then Xavi Simons in the 10. I don't like seeing Simons out wide. It's clear he is.
Well, you could go a midfield pivot and a 1-2. You could play Simons behind front 2.
Yeah, you could do that, but I think for this system, for us to be tight, I think you only need one. I don't think it felt like Solanke. In the game against Fulham, I was surprised he was still on the pitch. I could have thought for a good 45 minutes I didn't see Solanke. I thought he was taken off, and then right at the end of the game, I'm like, bloody hell, Solanke's still on the pitch. He doesn't. So that too, I don't think it works, especially because our wing backs. Well, we were, yeah. I don't think it works.
So you play with one number 9 then?
Yeah, I'll play with one. Simons needs space.
Behind
I feel like the 2 strikers are too easy to mark for whatever reason, and we just lose something in the midfield in terms of our tightness. So yeah, I would go 1 up top.
Phil, your midfield pivot? Have you got? Yeah.
I would play. I'd play Archie Gray and Sarr. I think in midfield, I'd start Archie Gray and Sarr. Realistically, I think I'd probably have Paulina on the bench. If I'm being honest, I don't think I'd start with Paulina. Although Paulina and Gray, I can see. I want to have Gray in there because I think he maintains possession. He keeps the ball well. He passes it well. It's progressive. But I do like Sarr as well. I don't know. But I think I'll go with Gray and Sarr, and I think I'd actually bench Paulina and bring him, have him on the bench as an option.
You could go 3 in midfield, but it means you're going like Simons behind 1 striker. Then you're playing Simons behind 1 striker, but then you could have them 3 in midfield. You could have Sarr, Gray, and Paulina. Then you in front of them just Simons in the 10, roaming, and a striker up front. You could do that.
The thing is, realistically though, I think he's going to start Gallagher. If only the fact that we bought him in January and he cost X amount of money and he's the new player, blah blah blah. Regardless of how he played last week, last weekend. Sorry. I think he's going to start Gallagher, and it wouldn't surprise me if he would play Gallagher and Palhinha in midfield together.
Yeah. I mean,
Actually,
to me, I think Paulina's played better than Gallagher so far this season, and he's got the experience we need in the situation we're in, and he will sit in front and help protect the back two central defenders at the back. He doesn't get about the pitch as much. He gets up for set pieces and gets goals and all that, but he hasn't got legs. He hasn't got the legs to go charging right or left on him, Paulina. But like, he's not that quick covering the ground. But he's excellent. He's the best tackler in the Premier League. His timing of tackles is superb. I mean, so I think Paulina definitely starts. This is why I'm favouring it. The more I think about it, the more I favour a 4-3-3. You see, but
well, do we know who's fit for Palace? Because I assuming that Wharton
should be
is
back,
fit and
right?
playing.
So, yeah, Spence should be back for us because it was a minor knock. If not, you know, I don't want Gray at left back again. I mean, to me, you know, Tudor is to do. I mean, what's he got to lose? He's only here to the summer. If you can't be bold when you're only here to the summer, then when can you be bold? I mean, in a 5, I would go Paulina in midfield with Gray, personally, because that's your midfield pivot. That leaves you 3 out front, which, I mean, you know, you got Simmons there, and I would go Solanke and Richarlison because they held the ball up, but you just know he's going to pick Moani.
We need Richie's energy and fight, I think, in this game. You know, so I'd like to think that he gives him a chance. My concern is though with the Palace midfield as well, though, because assuming Wharton's starting, I don't know who played for them at the weekend, but they've got a better midfield than us, to be honest.
They've got a better team than us.
Well, they have, despite losing, and they got Johnson as well, who's going to score anyways, right? So
we've underlined on picking a team with all those good players we've got out injured. So let's finish, right? We're going well. It's been a great show, guys. And Deji, I want to see more of you in the future. No skiving up at work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're obviously going to get you both back because once you're in our clutches, there's no escape. But a back 4, guys. If you're going with a back 4, 4-3-3, give me your 4-3-3, Deji. Come on.
My 4-3-3 would be Sousa, Porro, or Spence. I would have Van de Ven and I would have Danzo. That is decent enough. I hate Vicario, by the way. From day dot I called him vicarious liability. My free midfield would be you'd have to have Paulina. I would then have. The problem is the 4-3-3. I don't think it suits the players that we have, but I would go Paulina, Papsar, and Gallagher, but there's no creativity at all. And then I would go. I would go like a Tell or Richarlison on the left, a Solanke up top, and then on the right I would have Tell. But I don't. I think on the 4-3-3 it doesn't suit Xavi Simons. I don't know.
Phil, give us your 4-3-3.
4-3-3. I'd go for Sousa on the left, Danzo and Van de Ven, Porro obviously on the right. In midfield, I would go with Archie Gray, Palhinha, and Sa. And then I would probably play. To be honest, I'll probably play Xavi off a front two. So I would have Richarlison and Solanke, and I'd have Xavi either just behind. Hang on, is that right, or have I got one player too many?
No, you're right.
No, so I'm right. Yeah, so I'd have Xavi just playing off those two. But I'd try and pack that midfield. I reckon he would. I think he's still going to pick McGregor in there, but that'd be my pick. But having said that, I would prefer, if I could pick, I would prefer a 4-2-3-1. You know, and I would have Xavi as the number 10, but maybe just sticking a bit closer, you know, to the two in midfield on occasion. Because then I can play Tel, I think, a bit easier. And I want Tel to start. I don't think I can start him in a 4-3-3.
I can.
Really.
Right, I'll do my 4-3-3. We do, and then we talk with a 4-2-3-1, and we're finished, right? So like for me, we picked the same back four. Sue's on the left, Porro on the right, Vidavi and Danso. Yeah. In midfield, I'm going to go with Paulinho, Gray, and my left side midfielder is going to be Tel. And then, like I say, I'm Xavi, and I'm Solanke and Richarlison. Although I think they'll play more in. But if you were going 4-2-3-1, Deji, what are you doing?
4-2-3-1, the same back four. In the pivot, you're going to have Bissouma and Paulinho, in my view. I'll have Xavi in the 10. I would have Tel, Richarlison on the wings, and Solanke up top. I wouldn't play Mowane out on the wing. I couldn't understand Frank putting Mowane out on the right wing.
In his videos, I've seen him play very well on the left. I've seen him play well on the left.
But yeah, in this Spurs team, it'll have to be. I can put Tel on the right, Richarlison on the left, Mowane or Solanke up top. That would work. I mean, it's not great, guys, but you're asking me to give balance, and that's probably the most balanced team in my view.
I'm similar again. It's the same back four and goalkeepers. The midfield pivot will be Paulinho and Sarr. I'm playing Tel on the left, Xavi in the middle. You know,
who on the right?
Well, when he's played on the right, it's been Moane, isn't he? But I mean, I'd toy actually with that, or even with even playing Richie there, because Tel can play on the left and Tel could, Richie could play on the right and Tel could then play on the left. But I'd just like to see him on the left side of midfield with one on the front. So that's us struggling to pick sides, right? Knowing full well that we haven't got a clue what Trudera to do is going to do, and he's had 2 games of putting square pegs into round holes, and I don't want to see it Thursday when I'm at the game.
I don't trust him.
No,
he's brought in. You're bringing someone in with limited time in desperation, and we've got these are the games.
We got absolutely ripped apart in the first half against Fulham simply because he had Xavi, Simmons, and Gallagher playing in the wrong positions. There's just no. He doesn't seem to understand the squad, and he doesn't seem to understand balance. He doesn't understand the players he has. That's the problem. He's just playing them. You don't have to play these players because you have them. You play the players that make sense. When managers say, "I'm going to play the best team," it's a lie, because the best team sometimes requires that some of the players. Maybe Simmons doesn't fit this game. He has to be on the bench. Maybe maybe even in certain matches, Romero doesn't fit. Bench him. Do you know what I mean? Like, go with the profile and spec of player that works. And he hasn't done that, because that lineup against Fulham was he pretty much gave Fulham the game.
Yeah. Well, guys, look, there's 140 of you watching us now on various platforms. Big up to you all for sticking with us for 2 hours. Big up to everyone in the chat. We didn't get to your questions, but all your comments came up. So big up to a lot of following we've got on the chat. Yeah. I'm going to post these guys. I'm just going to put their links up again. This is where you can find Deji. Get over there, subscribe to his channel, and give the videos a thumbs up. This is where you can find Phil. Get over there to XCOM and subscribe. This is where you can find us on XCOM. Get over there. Those of you that are watching us, you can actually listen to us. You can see the little red subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. Just hit the subscribe button, please, and get over to our YouTube channel and give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Helps the algorithm, helps us bring you good content. been a very good show. Actually, we covered ground that I didn't know we were going to go to. That always happens on shows when they're interesting. It's given me like spare banners for Friday now. So I want to thank my guests. Fantastic, been excellent.
Thank
And like I say, big up to everyone. Big up to those of you to watch us on playback as well. And I'm going to play you out with this.
Yeah, and Adrian, keep up the good work. You're doing a great job, mate. You know, growing the channel.
Oh, you've just got an invite back. You've just got an invite back now.
We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die hearts, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die hearts, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die hearts, heart and soul. Blue. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die hearts, heart and soul, lily white and navy blue.